Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. I didn't do a post-game episode right after the game for the Ravens-Steelers game, so I do want to announce the giveaway winner from the preview episode, and it is Nick Dotson. He guessed 156 total yards, passing yards for Tyler Huntley, and he finished with 146. That was an ugly game, obviously. Cool to see the backups, and play in a meaningful game, but just a torrential downpour. We had the case of the fumbles again. Melvin Gordon fumbled. Gus ended up fumbling. I feel like after Melvin Gordon got benched, that kind of paves the way for Dalvin Cook to be that third back now. And that doesn't mean Melvin Gordon has no role or he's lost every opportunity, but he didn't get a lot of opportunities anyway, and then you get thrown into a game where you probably are planned to be the feature back, I would imagine. They didn't want to give Gus Edwards and Justice Hill a ton of carries. I'm sure they wanted to see Melvin Gordon a bit in a game that didn't matter for us, and he fumbles the ball and kind of gets benched. So I think Dalvin Cook, 2 weeks from now when we do play, is going to have a little bit of a role. I still think Gus Edwards and Justice Hill are the guys, but I could see Dalvin Cook playing some meaningful minutes, and especially if, week one in the divisional round of the playoffs goes well for us and for him, then I could definitely see him getting more and more of a role in the AFC Championship and hopefully the Super Bowl. So I think it's great that they signed Dalvin Cook. He's younger. I know he's got fresh legs, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Going back to that Ravens-Steelers game, obviously the Steelers won, and they're in the playoffs now. We'll talk about the playoffs a little bit later in this episode, but a couple standouts on the Ravens side, just some younger guys that I thought stepped up was Trenton Simpson, clear star of the game in my opinion. Dude was flying around. Clowney shouted him out in an interview after the game, just saying Eric DeCosta just continues to draft dogs, talking about Trenton Simpson, and, we assume that Patrick Queen may leave in free agency, so Trenton Simpson's going to be plugged right into his role next to Roquan Smith. There's obviously going to be a huge learning curve. I don't think Trenton Simpson's immediately Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen now, the Patrick Queen version that we're seeing now, that player was not who was playing, first and second year for this team. He's much better. He's a Pro Bowl linebacker now, and I'm sure he's about to get paid somewhere. So it is nice to see that the future replacement of him, Trenton Simpson, had an incredible game, and I think he'll learn a lot next to Roquan moving forward. Another standout's a guy I just talked about, Jadeveon Clowney, ended up having a career year, got his $750,000 bonus for getting a sack in that game, finished with 9.5. Kyle Van Noy with 9.5 career year. Just crazy that these are two, minor signings earlier in the season to help Odafe Owe and David Ajabo, who ended up, Owe played pretty much the whole year and did all right, but Ajabo didn't play at all, didn't even really see the field after that injury. So crazy that Clowney and Van Noy end up stepping up and becoming our main outside rushers, and then obviously Madubuike inside. We ended up extending Michael Pierce as well. That's some other news. So the interior should stay similar. I'm not sure if we're going to keep Madubuike or not. That is a question we'll probably have to keep revisiting throughout the offseason because he's going to cost a lot. The franchise tag would be a lot. But if we do lose Queen, I feel like we could make it work to keep Madubuike if that is what they choose to do. But we draft really well. We always kind of keep people in the pipeline. I know Travis Jones is coming up to be that nose tackle of the future too, and I'm sure Pierce, even though he just got extended, will start to play a little bit less, and we'll see more Travis Jones, and it just always seems to work like that. We just constantly are drafting, and that's how you stay competitive year after year, because you can't just always buy talent. You have to draft it and grow it and then either let them go or extend the all-time guys, So let's turn our focus to the playoffs now. So the AFC is set. It is Ravens, obviously, with 1 with the bye. The Bills ended up beating the Dolphins last night, so they have the number 2 seed. The 3 seeds, Kansas City, they were already locked in. Texans won their division, got the 4th seed. Browns were locked in at the 5th seed. 6th seed is now the Dolphins, and then the 7th seed is the Steelers. So Bills are going to play the Steelers in Buffalo. The Dolphins are going to go to Kansas City. That's a crazy first wild card matchup. And then the Texans play the Browns. So what's that mean for the Ravens? The Ravens will play the lowest winning seed. So the worst team, essentially, So if Pittsburgh happens to beat Buffalo, we automatically play Pittsburgh because they're the 7th seed. If Buffalo wins, which I do expect, I think Buffalo's going to win. TJ Watt's not going to play in that game. And I just think Buffalo beats Pittsburgh in Buffalo, but you never know. I'm kind of hoping Pittsburgh does win. I'd love to play them in the divisional round, but let's just say Buffalo wins. Then it comes down to does Miami beat Kansas City? If Miami, who's the 6th seed, beats Kansas City, we play Miami again. If Kansas City wins, then we're going to play the winner of the Texans-Browns matchup. But there is no chance, 0 chance, that we play the Bills or the Chiefs in the divisional round because they're the 2 and 3 seed, and there's just no way they'd be the lowest seed. So we're going to play Texans, Browns, Dolphins, or Steelers. I'm cool with whoever, you know what I mean? Obviously, there's some preferences. I think Pittsburgh's probably the worst team out of that group. And I hear all this talk about how they swept us or whatever, so it'd be kind of nice to blow out Pittsburgh in our building in the divisional round. I just think they're the easiest matchup. But I really don't think they're going to win, so it's looking like Miami or just the winner of the Texans-Browns game. And Texans been playing really well. Would not be shocked if they beat the Browns. Would not be shocked if the Browns beat the Texans. I mean, both those teams are playing hard, playing physical ball, great offenses right now. So we'll see. We get a stress-free week to kind of watch this play out, but I'm not worried about whoever. I don't think the Ravens should be worried about any specific team. Bring it on. We know the games are in Baltimore. We got 2 home games, and we're in the Super Bowl. That should be all the focus. This week, John Harbaugh laid out the plan that they're going to practice, normal week of practice, and they're getting a stadium practice in, which I do like that just to kind of get the feel of being in that stadium again, for game. And then next week, we'll know who we're playing, so we'll be able to lock in and have a full week of dedicated game plan towards whatever team. And it's kind of unique because we've already played all those teams, and we know the Browns and Steelers really well. The game planning around them, I mean, I know they added Joe Flacco, but the game planning around them is probably fairly easy because you do it twice a year every year. And then we've just played the Dolphins, so the game plan's not going to change much. We just beat them by 50. The Texans might be the most unknown since we've played them, just because we played them week 1. CJ Stroud has obviously evolved as this year went. This offense has evolved. They're playing really, really hard football under DeMeco Ryans. I thought they played hard against us in week 1. I thought that CJ Stroud kind of held his own, but he definitely has taken on a new life and is going to be a really good player, is a really good player in this league. So that would be the most unknown team, but not really. We already did play them. So I'm feeling comfortable about the divisional round. I'm feeling comfortable about our familiarity with those opponents and just our ability to rest, get healthy. We did get out of that Steelers game. It's another point I didn't bring up when I was talking about it. We did get out of that game fairly healthy. Geno Stone got a little banged up. Some depth guys got some bumps and bruises. But Harbaugh said that they'll be ready to go for the divisional round. There should be nobody that is out. So that is incredible news. I think a Mark Andrews return is set soon in this playoffs. I'm not sure if it'll be the divisional round, but possibly the conference championship. I feel like that's getting close to happening, and that's super exciting, especially with the way Likely is showing up. I feel like we got to have both of them out there and get them involved. And we have Kohler out there quite a bit when Likely's out there, so I don't think that that's an impossible feat to do. We've struggled with that in the past. It seems like whenever Mark's out there, Likely's just not really involved at all, and then Likely becomes a superstar when Mark Andrews is not in the game. but we can use both of them along with these weapons outside. So we have a ton of weapons. I'm interested to see how the running back room is going to go with Dalvin Cook. I love that addition. I love adding talent, especially I know he has fresh legs. I know he's motivated. John Harbaugh said he wanted to be in Baltimore for a while now. So let's see it, man. We got a run. We got a magical run ahead of us. And before I go today, shout out to the defense for getting the Triple Crown stats, man. This is pretty incredible. These 3 stats mean a ton. We led the league in sacks with 60. We led the league in points per game allowed at 16.5. And then we led the league in takeaways, 31. That's absurd, man. Just you lead the league in sacks. You let up the least amount of points, and you've had the most turnovers in the NFL. That's a recipe for dominance. And then you flip to the other side of the ball in that same team, and you got the MVP, Lamar Jackson, leading a top 5 offense. We got a bye week this week. It's probably going to be a slow week in Ravens news, but we could see some extensions. I think that this is the time that they get some time to talk with EDC. And, you know, is Odell going to get extended? Is he going to stick around because he has that dead cap hit of $12 million the next 2 seasons, whether he's on the team or not? So it might be smart to get an extension done if he agrees to that, and we can find the right numbers. Does Matabike get extended somehow? I'd love to see all these guys back, obviously. I want Matabike, I want Patrick Queen, but I know the realistic scenario is that we lose one or both of those guys just because we don't have an unlimited amount of cap. This isn't baseball. So we'll see what happens. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are about who we might play in the playoffs. You know, are you worried about any opponents? You shouldn't be, but which opponent scares you the most? And what's your predictions as we move forward of who wins this weekend in the wild card matchups and who we might play? So let me know your thoughts below. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.